Hello.
So yeah, okay, good. Thank you for coming.
Of course. I didn't say anything earlier. I kind of work, and then it's time and I come over.
Okay, so that's the truth. So I think that might be it. Any comment on my agenda suggestions? Tim, since
yeah, it sounded like you were just wanting to continue with Stephen's process, or else list of relations between concepts, I think, has to come up through the use cases, really.
Yep. Sorry, just audio setup. I realized the earphones was not active. Okay. So how do you feel?
I'm up for whatever, whichever you guys prefer.
Okay. Tim, opinion?
I'm good with anything.
Yeah, I'm pretty, as I said, I didn't have time to really prepare this, which means I'm also going to be pretty easygoing about what we do. Let's, I'm sorry, I'm looking for the trail. Let's have it nearby, I hope. Not a given. Oh God. I need to clean up my tabs. I need to declare bankruptcy again, basically. I'm looking at the process, and I think it's time to use the process. And I mean, to use the vocabulary we've defined. We could add use cases. That does make sense. I'm still happy with doing that. I think defining more terms at this point is getting less useful. So we were getting on the verge of finishing accepted as, so maybe we should finish that.
I think we finished it. We just put it in the column to be reviewed by others because they haven't been part of these meetings. I see it's only us three right now.
Right.
But I mean, by all means, if it's only us three attending these meetings, then I think us three can consider it consensus, and then people can tag on later.
I think that's fine.
So let's just drag it to consensus then. Then indeed, the next step, if we want to do this process, but I'm not certain what you call by use cases. There's two ways to go from there, and that's either to check whether based on these adjectives we now have consensus on, we can fix the alignment on the current nouns, being the accepted, immutable claim and contributed proto claim, and rename these maybe correspondingly. Or look at the user stories list and see whether these are even the nouns you want in that list. And I don't know, I'm fine with whichever.
Maybe let's have a quick look at the user story.
My user story list, the one from the glossary. Okay, I'll share it.
Yeah, I'm seeing
the problem is that that list right now doesn't have any nouns that are in consensus.
That's true. So, okay, you're right. Maybe we should go through the nouns. It's a good point. I'm happy to go through the nouns to make sure that the nouns are aligned with the adjectives.
Or we just focus primarily on the noun to be filled in here. And if it's not the one that's currently in the alignment column, we can always try to, using the adjectives we have now, for each of us fill in what you want there, and then argue why an adjective should apply or not.
Right.
So yeah, my original way that I wrote this as a web author, I want to link to an accepted immutable claim. So accepted here, I think, still refers to our accepted as immutable as well. So I think for me, the noun stays unchanged, but we can have a look. in a claim repository so that my readers can support and oppose the accepted immutable claim, which is also visible to any web content link to the same accepted immutable claim. Just reopening accepted as to be sure. No, yeah, we're missing structurally linkable, I think, for my current definition of the noun.
Yeah, and I said structurally linkable maybe didn't need to be defined. Oh no, we were starting to define. We were starting
to, and with my current suggestion for the noun accepted, it does involve structurally linkable as well, which right now is not incorporated. But as you can see here, once accepted can be used as part of other structures. And that was the main thing that Timothy, and maybe you as well, didn't feel so strongly on.
Yeah, it's obvious to me that once accepted, it's structurally linkable. What is less obvious to me is I want unaccepted terms to be structurally linkable and maybe even externally linkable. But that does not remove the fact that once accepted, it is indeed structurally linkable. Maybe it is structurally linkable before that, but that side of the implication is certainly a system constraint. I think I'm willing to happy that accepted has to be both internally and externally linkable. Yeah, maybe not only those, but certainly at least those.
True. So this user story number 1 doesn't exclude that not accepted ones can't be linked. Indeed.
Correct.
Yeah, you're right on that.
So that story is now functional, working, and so on.
But then still the definition of the noun here, this should be removed because according to our new adjective explanations, it's not part of that.
Well, I think we could say, and I'm arguing we could say, accepted immutable, once a claim is accepted, it is necessarily structurally linkable and externally linkable.
Yeah.
Which I think is accurate.
But then
it's not a necessary condition, but it is a sufficient condition, and we can mark it as such.
It's simply something we don't have a definition for, but we seem to already agree on.
Yeah.
Did we finish defining structurally linkable?
No, we didn't.
No.
I know that we're alternating between it structurally and internally. So we have to be careful about flip-flopping on the wording there.
Yeah, I agree that structure is better. Yeah, maybe internally is a good contrast to external.
But if you look at the user story, to be clear, it needs to be immutable because I always want to link to it and want it to be the same. So that's there. It needs to be accepted because the whole point of linking to it is that my readers of the blog post can add supporting and opposing claims. If it's not accepted, they cannot do that.
I agree.
So
well, no, I don't agree. Actually, I don't agree. I don't agree. No.
Yeah, but again, so that's why.
But in your system,
accepted for me entails structurally linkable, but that's a discussion exactly whether or not it should be.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to change to a weaker definition here instead of accepted immutable claim, saying
structurally linkable.
Structurally linkable immutable claim. Right?
Exactly, because that's the key thing that I'm after.
And here, actually, you want both external and structurally. Maybe we could even define as fully linkable, or something that entails both, which is what we want here, because we're talking of as a web author, that is, I'm using it from outside the system.
But it's interesting because I mean, yeah, for me they're one and the same, but what I'm after is structurally linkable. But then I'm wondering, for you, does it have to be accepted to do this?
Okay, for me, accepted is not a condition for anything. Let's settle that. It can be, or it's a sufficient condition, but it's not a necessary condition for anything. Mm-hmm. However, here I think the question you're asking, which is interesting, is are there cases of structurally linkable that are not externally linkable? I don't think so. Are there cases of externally linkable that are not structurally linkable? I would also tend to think not, but I think that is more something we need to agree on. I think that it is always true that
no, I don't think that's what I was hinting at. I was hinting at why is accepted necessary here. I mean,
I don't think it is.
For me, if I would rephrase it now with a new adjectives and the undefined one, what I'm actually after is structurally linkable immutable claim. That's really the key to be able to support this user story.
I'm saying you need both, because if it's not externally linkable, you just cannot access it from your web. I'm assuming here as a web author, I want to link blah, 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 in a claim repository from my web page. I think that was implied.
But,
So I think, I mean, the question here is, are we trying to use adjectives, or is this use case pointing at a noun that happens to use some of the adjectives?
Well, the adjectives.
I think it's implied in what Stephen wants, that it's structurally linkable. And, it's a lot of words to say structurally linkable, externally linkable claim.
Which is why we want to introduce the shorthand. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why I wanted to introduce the shortcut fully linkable. But I was making a separate claim, a separate point that no matter how we name it, you need both kinds of linkability for that user story, as I understand the user story. Maybe I'm wrong.
I might be missing something because we only have externally referenceable.
Oh, sorry, I meant externally referenceable. Fair enough. I meant it has to be both structurally linkable and externally referenceable for your user story.
Yes, exactly. So I think we all agree there. And what that means is that accepted as is actually not relevant to this user story. Interestingly, it's only because of different user stories why I want to say that only accepted things become structurally linkable, but that's independent of this one. We don't have to agree on that, which was the whole thing we were trying to resolve, which is great.
Yes.
But Timothy pointed out correctly, we don't want to call this noun, which I
agree.
Seem to actually agree on that for this user story, structurally linkable, externally referenceable, and immutable all make sense. That's awesome, because if we agree on that, we can just agree on a noun.
Yeah.
From now on to call that thing, and then we can use the adjectives except for structurally linkable, we still have to define. We can use that to define this noun.
Exactly. Which
I don't want to waste time on this, but I'm curious as to why it's structurally linkable and externally referenceable. Why we're using what's the difference in meaning between linkable and referenceable? Here?
That's a good question.
I'm not sure. I think this is a historical accident, and I'm not going to be religious about that, and we can change it first thing. But I think they were slightly, no.
I think part of the problem is we haven't defined structure linkable, so it can mean many things. The only thing that we have clearly defined is externally referenceable.
Yes.
So, just to save having to ask that question again and again in the future, I propose we choose one or the other, linkable or referenceable.
It can be one and the same, maybe.
I'm tempted to actually align on referenceable, believe it or not, because no, I don't care.
But there's a slight distinction in what you are referencing for, because what I'm hinting at with structure linkable is that you don't just link to it as a URL from a separate blog post or whatever. I'm suggesting there that you link it as a supporting, with a semantic link.
If we are to settle on that there's some inherent difference in the type of relationship, I would actually prefer it to be reversed, because I think of external references as links.
Yeah,
like you're linking to something, whereas you have a foreign key reference that is the type of relation, that's one implementation of a relationship between elements.
Yeah. I'm not one to meddle on names, but the distinction is relevant to the use case.
Should we swap structurally referenceable, externally linkable?
Well, I guess Felix and Joshua, we have to consult on that, but we can do that as a meeting note.
I'm certainly happy to say, let's call it structurally referenceable or even internally referenceable to make, the unaligned one aligned to the aligned one.
I think they're synonyms. We just have to choose in this ambiguity.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there's consensus and externally referenceable.
Well,
but
it's easy to fix, right? I can just uncheck Felix and Joshua and poke them in chat and notify them that that's the only change.
Yeah, I think it's fine. That's also true. Yeah, sure.
So then this will become externally linkable.
Yes, it's shorter.
Yeah, and everything else is the same. It's, well, except other than this one, linkable, and we always said that the names actually don't matter in terms of agreeing, so we actually don't even have to uncheck them.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna modify them. I'll do that after in the meeting notes.
Yeah. This is useful. I'm tempted to say fully linkable to encompass both, but that's just form.
And do we want actually?
Okay, do we want structurally or internally? Yes.
Well, we first need to try to define before we name it, to be honest. But we all seem to agree that thing needs to be defined because that is what is missing here. But yes. I think something we can already align on is that this is too long, whatever it's going to be. So it would be cool to have something claim here, shorthand for that use case.
Usable or no, it's not. Yeah, the problem is there.
Potato.
Mature.
Mature. I don't dislike mature.
Because it's the end of a process, right? It's a life cycle thing. I'm
happy with usable. I'm actually happy with usable.
I like usable as well.
I know it applies for wet, but it's like it's like a full member of the system that you can do things with. So.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Let me say why I'm resistant to usable, but I'm not. It's not a big resistance. Is that it implies that those that are okay, there's what I call proto claims, right? We don't know if it's usable or not. There's fully good. I'm tempted to call them good claims. It's good. It's well formed. It's non-indexical. And we want to use it. Fine. There's the bad claims. We look at it and it doesn't look like a claim, or it's indexical, or whatever things, right? It's defined. My point is all three of them in my system can be referenced, or
exactly.
at least internally. And so they're not unusable. Like the bad claims may be unusable, but the proto claims, I would say, are not unusable. And that's the contention. And that's why I'm not happy to reserve it.
Except that it's no longer, the definition needs to be updated, right?
I agree.
Except that it's no longer part of this. So ignore the definition. This is a to be defined.
Can I ask a clarifying question here?
Yeah.
From what I heard you say, Marc-Antoine, you're saying that basically you think that anything that is externally linkable and structurally referenceable, linkable, or whatever, and immutable is usable, whether or not it's whatever the acceptable criteria that you call the proto claim. Your proto claims would be externally linkable, internally or structurally referenceable, and immutable, correct?
Correct.
So that they're usable. That is the definition we're going for here. Even what you're calling a proto claim is usable, and you would say you want it to be usable, and it is. It matches this definition.
Exactly. That's why it's not the definition we're going for. I think.
Why not?
Right, I think it is the definition.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I think we were aiming for the definition of good claims.
No, not at all. The problem was that before we disagree on whether or not it needs to be accepted. We disagree on whether or not for it to
Right. Okay, so yeah, okay, usable, okay, fair. Usable claim is a claim that is structurally linkable and externally referenceable.
Let me update it. So it is an immutable claim,
And
which we
immutable,
have.
yeah.
We still are happy with immutable claim, right? Because we did
Yes.
a lot of work here.
Yeah. Now, however, I suggest we link to
Link to immutable.
Yes.
Yeah, and this doesn't change the definition of immutable. It just poof does this. Pretty certain it works. And a shared immutable representation.
But did we have shared immutable representation as a term? Was it a term before?
No, but immutable is. I mean, if we want representation and shared as well.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, I just thought that shared immutable representation.
No, I think these still hold. These don't change. Like agreement on immutable worked quite quickly. Acceptable immutable claim. I'm actually going to drag back to alignment. We have to go over that later.
Yeah.
But the other ones are fine. That means that a usable claim, which we're doing now, definitely involves an immutable claim. We agree on that.
Now,
and it's no longer acceptable. We don't say that.
Yeah.
What was an immutable claim? Yeah. Which is also
externally referenceable.
Yes, exactly. Oh, which we
externally linkable and structurally linkable.
And then that clearly shows we need to consider whether or not yeah, that is going to be part of that definition here. This is gone. So yeah, we need to do some work here.
Yeah.
Where is the template? Matches does not match. Can I copy that? Yeah, here. Maybe it would make sense to, I mean, that's the formal definition, but it would make sense to also have a rephrasing of this. So you don't have to go to these. Actually, it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
But that means that we should now be able to have examples. But it's interesting because all the examples indeed depend on
system choices.
Yeah, which is yeah, for nouns like this, I don't know whether these two, whether the process fits as well.
No.
So well, I think it's more that the thing described here is not the noun, it's more like part of the process.
Yeah.
So it would be a claim added to a claim in a claim repository, which can be used as supporting claims in an argument also contained in the same repository.
Yeah,
something like that.
You could even say, you know, since it's an example,
Yeah,
I'm perfectly willing to say an accepted claim here. Like example, clearly accepted claim.
And then as another example, we can also say an
I'm even willing to say, and I would even say as a edge case, because it's something we are not yet agreeing on, a contributed proto-claim.
No, no, that's not how it works. If it's not part of the definition, it means that it's in a claim which is not accepted as a claim.
Yeah, which is
And what
called
you call a
contributed product claim. We have it even in the vocabulary.
then we have to first do the other one if we want to link to that. Yeah, I think actually all of them we need to go over again. Yeah, actually it makes sense to first do contributed. Although contributed all relied on, see, we were focusing so much on the concept of going from a contribution to an accepted thing that we overlooked indeed the fact that the key thing here is structural linkability or whatever we're going to call it.
Yeah. This is why going to adjectives was so bloody productive.
But that also means that these, in a way, are no longer maybe not things we want to define first, because we're not going in through our use cases. Don't focus on the acceptance process right now, so we don't need to. So I'm going to put them back there in undefined. We can pick them up later. It's not lost work. And then indeed that means that once we do have those nouns, we can reference them here, but we don't have them right now. We have no consensus on them, rather.
I think I need coffee. Sorry.
By the community as a good claim. Something along those lines, but that's very verbose. Accepted, we can link. And then it would be nice to add an example here. God is great. Well, let's take something better that would likely be accepted.
The Earth is not flat.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. The Earth is not flat. A claim which isn't. I don't need to do academic writing here. A claim which isn't accepted by the community as a good claim.
By Viagra.
Yeah. Go to example.
It's a good one.
Yeah. A contributed claim, I'll call it just for clarity.
As I said, I'll make coffee shortly.
Yeah, you can do that now. I'll wait while I brainstorm.
No. I'm around. I'm
okay.
carrying the computer. It's just there'll be noise, and I'm cutting my video, and I'll be cutting my audio while I'm grinding the grounds. But I'm listening.
Okay. So yeah, let's think a bit about does not match definition. Always a hard one. It's interesting.
Well, I don't think the problem
is
system dependent. It's
anything that's not an immutable claim, essentially, right? So I think the examples will be very similar to the does not match definition of immutable claims.
It would be anything. Yeah, it would be the union of sets of does not match definition for each of our adjectives is what it is. We're creating a union object here.
Yep.
But the what I'm saying is it's I'll wait on the coffee. Actually. My wife is in the middle of a class. It will make noise. It's system dependent, right? A system may consider a claim not usable. For example, if a system does not accept proposed contributed proto claims as usable, then it does not match the definition for that system.
Can we just say for does not match definition, it's the union of sets of
except that
examples that don't match.
I mean, I fully agree with you, but that's a formal definition. It's just it's not an example. And it does help to have examples like the Earth is not flat or by Viagra. It clearly says here that yes, by Viagra exclamation mark can be a usable claim, just as long as it's indeed immutable. And I liked your idea more of like try to indeed find examples that are not immutable, that are not externally linkable, and are not structurally linkable. So essentially, we can copy any of the examples in these three.
Right. The problem is that we're trying to use examples by text. By
Yeah, true.
And that's not what decides whether or not something's acceptable or matches or not, right?
And the other problem is that, again, structurally linkable is a system choice, and the same claim will be structurally linkable in one system and not in another. So it's not. It's an example
but the only
with
reason
respect to the system it's embedded in.
Yeah, but the only reason we added that was because we know we want to get there, and we know that's why the disagreement lies. So the reason we added these examples, not relying on existing terminology, is because we know we want to get there, and now we're agreeing both of these match, regardless of what you think it is or it does.
Yeah.
Both of these match. That's progress. But for the does not match definition, it should be fairly trivial to indeed just add whatever. That's not immutable or externally linkable or structurally linkable. But what are good examples?
Then I agree with Tim's suggestion. Let's pick example from the
anything which does not match
I would say
definition of the.
Let's pick examples from the other three. I mean, from the cards. We have them in theory.
Okay. Oh yeah, and then I'll pick one of each, and then we can just link not immutable. Yeah. A web page. Not immutable.
Also not a claim, but it's okay.
Oh yeah, sorry, because it was immutable claim we needed, not immutable. We have a more precise. But that's interesting.
We don't have counterexamples with immutability.
No, but our definition of immutable claim already presumes that it's a claim.
Yeah.
So we're doing something wrong.
Well, I mean, what is our definition? Our definition, if we have immutable claim, our definition is it's an immutable claim that is externally linkable and it's internally referenceable or whatever, or structurally referenceable.
And it's a claim.
Well, but it's an immutable claim. Immutable claim already has a definition. It's an immutable claim that is externally linkable and structurally referenceable.
What about saying does not match definition, have a proper claim, and then say in a mutable data structure, such as a web page?
No, but I think you're not seeing the problem here. So we said that a usable claim is an immutable claim. But our examples of immutable claim and I does not match definition of immutable claim already exclude like by Viagra, for example. So we're being contradictory here.
I see what you're saying. Usable. Yes. And yeah, I agree. The problem is immutable claim is
the goal. So this should probably be renamed now that we have defined immutable loose from. So
actually, immutable claim is fine. I wouldn't touch it because it's kind of more evolved. What I would say is that let's go back to immutable claim. An immutable claim or immutable contributed protoclaim.
But we don't have protoclaim. I don't like.
You don't have, but okay.
Immutable contributed.
We have it.
contributed.
We can essentially, I mean,
No, 1 second. We have immutable. You've put it back in undefined, but we have it. I think it's a very important thing to be able to talk about. Something which is contributed, maybe immutable, probably. That says up to a point orthogonal, and has claims to be a claim, but we don't know it's a claim yet.
exactly.
And that's the only way in which
it's not this immutable claim from the consensus. It's a immutable contributed claim or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm saying I had proto claim down there, and it's just too low. You have to scroll to get it.
I will define it next. Let's first try to define.
No, I'm saying it's now become a prerequisite to defining usable claim.
Okay, let's do that one first then. Content added to a claim repository which intends to be a, well, what does it intend to be?
Good, I think usable claim.
Are you sure?
No. Well, yeah, it intends to be a usable claim. Absolutely.
An immutable claim. Now, currently, our definition of something that is a claim, as we understand claim, is immutable claim.
Yeah, so I think if.
Yeah, but that's wrong. So
I think this should become a claim, or a claim goal, or something like that.
No. Well, that is what I'm trying to introduce as a proto claim.
Wait, what happened to acceptable claim?
It's still out there.
So what it would like to be is an acceptable claim.
Yeah.
Or the proto, may or may not be.
There is in the circularity things, and this is what's the problem with working with nouns, is I'm not sure that the contributed proto claim, and I'm standing by this name, may or may not be immutable, because I think that's orthogonal, but it certainly wants to be a usable claim. Now, the fact that the usable claim is immutable, moreover, that's okay. It doesn't mean, I'm not saying that the contributed proto claim is an acceptable immutable claim. It's not circular. It's saying it aims to be, which is different. So the proto claim aims to be a usable claim, and that includes, or maybe an accepted claim, and I'm fine with that. I'm happy if we say it aims to be an acceptable claim also, but at least a usable.
It at least a usable, but I mean, that's not what it is, right? It aims to be much more than that. It aims to be.
Yeah, it aims to be an accepted claim.
Yes.
An immutable accepted claim.
And we don't have accepted. So the accepted and usable are so interlinked, which is why all of this started, and why that's also my design decision to interlink them entirely. But yeah, we want to decouple that in our conversations regardless.
No, but we have accepted as an adjective, right?
Oh yeah, sorry, we do. Yeah.
So now it's very trivial. It should be trivial to say that what an accepted claim is.
Yeah, but then we have to go back and decouple immutable from claim here, which actually makes perfect sense, because that's why it started. I think we have a lot of consensus on what a claim is. I don't think, I just have a hard time finding then a good word for that, and that means that probably we should remove a shared immutable representation from.
I'm happy
definition.
with that. We could call this a claim, yes.
But
and then
we cannot call it a claim because it's going to cause too much ambiguity. So we have to call it like a perfect claim or something like that. I mean, it's what it
well defined. Well, yeah.
No, because Vlogel block is a smudge block is also a claim, right? We know what we're talking about, but I think we need to give it a different name then, because this is utterly confusing.
I don't think so. I think claim is what we're talking about.
Okay.
And the contributions are not necessarily claims, right? That's the problem.
I agree.
They aim to be claims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Stephen had a good point that indexical claims are valid claims, but we're trying to exclude them here.
Not immutable.
It is.
That's the difference between acceptable and immutable.
An immutable claim. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so I'm saying this is a claim.
Yes. I think it's going to cause confusion if we just call this a claim, but I'm okay with trying that.
Yeah, let's remove the shared immutable
and
thing.
there's not a lot of
yeah, just on
here
click.
either way.
Yeah, it's being.
So let's edit this one and then edit back in proposed.
Or do you want to duplicate it and put?
No. It doesn't make sense. I mean, we're the ones driving this process, so let's just change it and people can reread.
Yeah.
So Timothy, are you okay with just going for claim here and then removing mutability from the requirements of this claim?
Yeah, it becomes, I mean, then immutable claim becomes a thing by joining the adjective immutable with claim.
Yes, exactly.
I think it's important to do that, yes.
Yeah. So then we remove a shared immutable representation. So it just becomes
a declarative sentence.
It's not always a declarative sentence. I would still say it's a shared representation. I think we can just remove immutable. I mean, if it's not shared,
Fair.
I think we can try to keep that. Let's see what happens. A shared representation, for example, declarative sentence. This doesn't need emphasis anymore, though.
Yeah.
Which people can agree or disagree with as a whole. Yeah, I think all of that still applies.
Everything else stands. Yes.
It's very, even if the only thing they can assume. Yeah. Oh,
remove immutable there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the emphasis.
There's another immutable there, up there, against an immutable claim.
Okay, let's quickly go over the examples. I'm not going to read them out loud. Just look at them, and if you see anything that doesn't work anymore, let me know.
Looks good to me.
Bad claim is still used here.
I just have the usual. I don't want an image to be a claim, but whatever.
Valid claim in lexical reference would likely not be approved. That's fine. We had so many discussions about this, Timothy. I really don't want to roll that back.
No, I'm not gonna. Yeah, bring that up. I just
ambiguous is a claim. Lexical. No, I mean that the point here is exactly that we can talk of textual claims and image claims, and then we can still later say I don't want image claims,
okay.
etc. So let's keep it open for now, and that was the idea behind being very broad here.
I agree with that.
Because we did have very interesting discussions about meme platforms and stuff like that.
I'll put it back to alignment.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna uncheck Felix, Joshua, and I'm gonna check you, Timothy.
Yes.
Two separate unlinked claims. Two separate unlinked representations.
Unlinked is undefined here.
But it's implicit. It's just that if they're not a cohesive whole of a representation, that's yeah. Edge cases commonly arise when shared representation increases in size. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Should bad claim. I'm gonna remove these. I don't think these are relevant anymore.
Actually, no, I think they're interesting.
Should
but
claim then include a single linguistic clause? Oh yeah, true. Thinking exercise can the claim be? Yeah, okay, that's actually still relevant. Yep. Okay, so we have a definition for claim, working title.
Yeah, I still want to go to contributed proto claim.
Yeah, now we can go there, but it was hard because we didn't have claim defined anymore. So why isn't this a, oh, you don't want to call it a claim because it's a proto claim, hence the importance of claim. It's actually the same reason you're arguing for proto claim is the same reason I'm arguing to not call this thing a claim, but call it a, yeah. You just invert it. You see what I mean?
I would just call it could claim candidate or contributed claim candidate claim contributed.
Well, that's why
I'm fine with all of them.
Okay, we could go with proto.
claim. I have no problem with claim candidate as an alternative to proto claim.
I think it's more easy language.
I'm happy with that language.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Content added to a claim repository which intends to be, and now we just say claim.
Yeah.
That's why we need the other one.
It probably even intends to be an accepted claim, which is something else.
Yes. Then I can just add an accepted claim.
Yeah, with the
because
adjective.
We have the adjective, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I'm okay with that.
Oh, okay.
I'll go with a claim for now.
Yeah, a claim. That makes sense.
And then, of course, this second part needs to be removed.
I agree.
Content added to claim chance to be a claim, but might not yet be.
Okay, so why not accept?
Might not yet be is a weird also way to put it because it intends the process. But really, what makes it a claim or not may just be its formulation, right? Spam, for example, could be a claim candidate that's not a claim, and it's not aiming to be a claim. Is just aiming to get people's attention, and I would say rather than may not yet be, I would say but might not match the criteria.
Actually, what I would say is might not yet be determined to be so, or you know, which is different. It is process centric. Yes,
determined by who?
Well,
I mean,
by the process, which might
right
not be
now,
accepted.
Here's the question, though. But see, that's the question: is the moment I put in the Earth is flat or something, right?
Yeah.
Is it a claim or is it still a candidate?
It's always a claim candidate because there's no way right now, because there's no way for the system. Well, if you want to model it in the system, it will always have to be a claim candidate because there's no way that a system can know it's a claim or not.
Yeah, that's the point.
Right.
That's why we need the process. That's why we're struggling with accepted and structure linkable, etc.
Yeah, but you know, that's the problem. Is I'm just fine with it always being a claim candidate.
That's fine.
The word for the permanent thing, but I think a claim candidate could be used as a claim.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the candidate.
So I think Timothy is arguing simply that it should be this.
And I'm maintaining it should be accepted. Why not accept it, Tim? I'm really curious.
Because
accepted. Yeah, I think we can say accepted. The only difference in Timothy is you can say that by default all claims are accepted. But yeah, well, that gets tricky.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I mean that's kind of lawyering or something. But
yeah. No, but even no, I'm sorry, I disagree. Like not it's, for example, this is true is clearly a claim and clearly not an accepted claim, or I hope shouldn't be an accepted claim because it's indexical. So
let me ask you this: how does the system treat an contributed claim different from an accepted claim?
Okay, the contributed claim, it's like we have not been through a process to know that this is actually.
No. I'm asking you specifically, what feature is only possible with an accepted claim and not with a contributed claim?
I think this is going to be filtered out in many views, and this is the question: is in which views is it visible, and which views is it not visible? I expect moderators will have a review process screen where they'll see contributed claims only, and most people will not see contributed claims until they're accepted. So yeah, that's the difference.
Timothy, would you agree that, and this needs to be renamed as well, but considering everything we wrote here, would you agree that it's a content added to a claim positive which intends to be an acceptable claim, given all the criteria we listed here?
Yeah, it's not acceptable. It would be
Acceptable, not acceptable.
It needs to be acceptable, but it intends. I don't like the word intend really.
Okay.
Actually, because it's like the claim candidate itself has some sort of weird internal motivation. It doesn't.
Okay, with the intent that it be accepted as a claim.
Yeah, I
by
mean,
someone,
why
right?
else? Why else?
Spam. You want to get people's attention to click your link, right?
Yeah,
that's a claim candidate, and it has no intention of ever being accepted as a claim.
Okay, right? No, but it
does.
Okay,
it does.
Maybe it's framed wrong because the intent indeed is on the person adding it, but the intent for the system is that it becomes or that it is. Maybe it's a matter of rephrasing it like that, because that's what defines it as spam. If it isn't that thing, it's spam, right?
If you speak about the system's intent, it's not to have it be accepted, fair enough. It's about for it to be either accepted or rejected. That's the intent of the system. The intent of the system is to decide. But certainly, I think the person contributing it intends it to be accepted, even if it's spam. Of course, I mean, they're hoping for a loophole. We'll hope to close the loophole. That's our job. But their job is to make it visible as a loophole. So yeah, they want it to be accepted. They want it to be usable. They want it to be visible. So I maintain the intent with the intent. Now I agree in this phrase like this, it sounds like it's the intent of the claim, which is ridiculous, but content added to a claim repository with the intent and I mean here the intent of the contributor to be that it's be an accepted claim. They're hoping for it to be an accepted claim. They're hoping that it goes through the process and be accepted. And it's even true for the Viagra one.
Yeah, but I think Timothy's concern is that what if you want to talk about a system that doesn't even have that step of acceptance?
Yeah, and you know, or even you're talking about different systems. What if one system decides its approach is flagging things after the fact as spam? Or what if instead, like accepted is such a stark cutoff and status? What if it's a sliding scale and I want to say, you know, my intention was to do it essentially by relevance, and if something is voted down as totally irrelevant over and over again, you know, you can choose a view that shows every level of relevance, or you
okay, now I understand your objection. It's a perfectly valid objection. I still think it's true in the sense that but you're right, you have a real point here. What I'm saying is I still think it's true, even for example, a sliding scale. Let's start with that one. We still intend when we enter the claim that it be accepted at a high enough threshold to be good, at ideally a high threshold.
Which are the minimum requirements we spent quite a bit of time on.
In a system that just accepts things by default, well, it turns out that a claim candidate is treated as an accepted claim until it isn't, but it's still true. I mean, the process is start from the accepted state and then maybe work backwards to unaccepted.
Yeah,
that's fine, but there's still the intent of acceptance.
I agree. Otherwise, where do all these acceptance criteria, these minimal acceptance criteria fit in?
For me, what I've said over and over again is I see that as heuristic, right?
Yeah.
I see things as being improved gradually.
True.
Yeah, but that's orthogonal to this question. How do you tell Viagra by Viagra apart from God is real?
Well, because for one thing, we've defined claim, right? So we say, and this is why the way I wanted to phrase it is that a candidate claim is something that's been contributed to the system, which may reach the criteria of being considered a claim, may reach a level of criteria of being an acceptable claim, or it may not match any of those criteria.
or may go through the process and be an accepted claim because we put the process in the definition of acceptance.
Yeah, but well, it's immutable, and we haven't talked about.
It's not immutable at this point.
Well, it's not immutable in this definition.
Nope.
Because I may want to say that claim candidate should be immutable, in which case we have a mutable claim candidate is a noun maybe we're discussing. But yeah, for this definition, it's not immutable. But at any rate, it's something that's been submitted, and that submission may or may not. To me, it's instantly a claim if a candidate claim matches the criteria of claim. If I put in the earth is flat, it's done. It's a claim candidate.
Yeah, but
it's also a claim.
We're looking. It has to do with why we are defining these things. We're defining these things in order to talk about system implementations and desires. And your definition of claim is useless because it doesn't help implement anything.
See, you're embedding in the definition the process that you assume you want to have. And I'm saying I want to define claim candidate and then talk about process, which is, do we want to have acceptance? Is a claim candidate immutable before there's acceptance? That sort of thing, right? And then,
no, but I see your point, but I don't think there's a contradiction. By the way, I do have a hard stop now on Fridays, which is annoying. Maybe we should flip the days so my day becomes Thursday where I don't have a hard stop. That's another story.
Oh, no, this one's right. Sorry.
I agree with you that we don't want to force acceptance process because some systems don't have them. That's fair. But what I'm saying is when you say, and I think we're saying the same thing, where the claim candidate may be a claim, maybe an acceptable claim, and I'm saying it may be an accepted claim when relevant to the system. These are all, for me, the same as saying intends to be, or with the intent of, because the point is,
here's what I'm saying is that I see it as superset, which means I see that, like I said, a claim is a candidate claim, and an acceptable claim is a claim, and a candidate claim is just a subset of those.
But we agree that there are candidate claims which are not even claims.
Yes.
We agree that from the system's point of view, when it receives the claim candidate, the claim may be inherently a claim, but the system doesn't know that yet. So from the system's point of view, it's a claim candidate until something happens. And it may be that the process is, let's assume that all claim candidates are proper claims. That's a choice of the system. But the system cannot know that it's properly a claim at the moment it's proposed.
And what I'm saying is that I want to propose a system in which the system doesn't know that.
And so do we.
That's fine, but what language are we using to describe that?
Well, for now, I'm okay with claim candidate, right? Or just a claim submission or something like that, right?
Okay.
But isn't that which intends to be a claim? How is that different?
I don't think there's intent. I think that a claim candidate is the thing that has been submitted, and claim.
But okay, how do you tell a comment apart from a claim in your system?
Okay, here's why I speak about intent, Tim. I may enter a phrase, right? A candidate phrase, and saying this phrase is a candidate to be a claim. I want the system to recognize that I want this to be a claim, as opposed to this is a definition. This is entity definition or argument definition, right, or frame definition. And this is an intent. This is why I want the word intent in there, or some other way to say this is a candidate to be something. It may or may not be valid as X, but when
I see what you're saying.
Otherwise, content.
Thank you. And I have to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why it's missing.
Okay,
is it just any content added to claim repository? You can't tell any of them apart. Exactly.
Yeah, we need a generic language for like this is this model thing we have in mind, or this purpose in mind.
Yeah.
So it's a submission for that kind of thing. Yeah, I got that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, see you next time. I'll try to write it up.
Thanks.